Happy Halloween.
I'm Myke Shrews.
I'm Tivis.
And you're listening to
The Munster Cast.
Episode 4. All right, welcome back again, everybody. I am Myke Shrews here with my co-host Tivis.
And I still haven't touched any of my wife's decorations.
And you're listening to the Munster Cast, the podcast where we watch the Munsters and talk about the episodes or episode or movie that we just watched with our thoughts and everything in between, where Tivis gives us information and trivia because I'm too lazy to go out and do it. So without further ado, let's get into it and remember, happy Halloween.
You know, I think I finally figured out where my Munsters box set is since I got it back from my dad.
Yeah.
It's on my bookshelf.
That's covered?
Yeah. So
nice.
That's all right. It'll be free next week.
All right. So what are we doing today? We got episodes 6 and 7 today.
First up, we got Locale Monster. It aired October 29th, 1964. Written by Norm Abbott. Directed by Norm. Oh, I might have these backwards.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Norm Liebman and Ed Haas directed. Those are normally the writers.
Okay, maybe you have that backwards.
Yeah, I think I got them backwards. But anyway, it's the three people we're familiar with by now.
Okay. All right. And so we have a synopsis here for Locale Munster. I'm still confused by the name, so maybe you have some information on that later. Locale Munster, as Tivis said, October 29th, 1964. Herman wants to attend a reunion of his army buddies, but he cannot fit into his uniform. Since Lily does not want him to go, they make a deal that if Herman can lose enough weight to fit into the uniform, she will allow him to attend. Unfortunately, Herman starts his diet just as Thanksgiving is approaching, and the hunger-stricken Herman can be a potentially dangerous thing. All right.
We open this one once again with Herman strapped in Grandpa's lab.
Because he's Dr. Frankenstein.
And this time, Herman breaks free.
Yes.
Destroy. Oh, yeah. His hairy hands are back.
Yes, his hairy hands are back for like a scene or two.
He breaks free, knocks everything off of Grandpa's TV, then kicks it.
Well, it's funny because as he's getting up, the bed thing that he's laying on that he has him hooked to swings up and hits him in the butt and pushes him into the TV, and then he gets mad at the TV and knocks into it. I'm just like, what did the TV do to you, man? Come on.
Then we get an exterior shot of the house where Herman busts through the door, goes up to their fence, basically destroys the fence, scares some poor guy carrying flowers. We never find out what that dude's deal is.
I think maybe he was one of Marilyn's dates, a potential date.
That's what I thought, but the episode never goes into it.
Yeah.
Then we see him looking into a house through the window. Very Frankenstein-like. Yeah. They're having Thanksgiving dinner. He busts through
real quick, is really reminiscent of the very first time we saw Herman in episode 1 was
he was looking
through the window.
Yeah. So he busts into these people's house. He's like, doing the whole Frankenstein thing, grunting and groaning. And then we get the voiceover from Herman's voice, and he's looking around like he can hear it.
Yeah.
It's like, boy, you're wondering how it's kind of similar to was that new show that it's not new, but it just came back, the Wonder Years, where you probably wonder how we got into this situation.
Right. Yeah.
And then the intro starts and we get into the story.
Which is about 10 days later, he said, or 10 days earlier is what he says with it. This all started 10 days earlier, and then it jumps to 10 days earlier, and then you get into the intro and shit like that.
I love the fact that he can hear his own voiceover.
Yeah, just like looking. And then we jump into the show after the credits, and it's Herman trying to fit into his military uniform, as the synopsis said.
I believe this is our first look at their attic.
Yes, the first time we see their attic. It took me a second to realize they were in the attic because the whole house looks the same. It would have been funny if the attic was the one place that there were no cobwebs at, like no spider webs and stuff. That would have been funny for about 2 seconds, and then people would be like, well, I don't get it.
Yeah.
And I realized it was the attic once they went to the mannequin thing, and then I was like, oh, it's supposed to be the attic because mannequins, attics, for some reason it's a stereotype of doing it, even though I have a mannequin in my attic. So
that doesn't shock me at all.
I have 2 of them and a bunch of mannequin heads too. One which sits right at the entrance of the attic to scare people from going in my attic.
My grandpa bought the house next to him to put his mannequins in the living room, so they're in a nativity scene basically around a fake fire, like a bunch of homeless people.
Nice.
And you could see it through the window.
All right, so let's dive into this one. Herman's trying to put on his was he in the uniform? Navy? Did they say? I forget if they say what branch he was in.
He was in the Army. The actor, fun fact, was in the Navy.
That's what it is. Okay.
He was a submarine chaser.
Mm-hmm. Oh, when men were men.
But yeah, he's having trouble fitting into his jacket. And, Grandpa's there just being an asshole, making fun of him for being fat.
Yeah. Which Grandpa has no reason to talk. What are you doing?
He really wants to go to this reunion, and Lily isn't having it. She's like, we haven't been apart for 100 years, which is confusing considering he was in World War II, which means, was she at the bases with him, or on the submarine? No, that was the real guy. Was he at the bases with him?
Yeah. No, I was, so they're, again, diving more into, as we talked about last week, they're diving more into the dynamic of the family and what they did and stuff like that. So Herman was like, at first I thought they were going to make it as like a part of him was in the military, not like him himself, like what we know as Herman. I thought that was going to be like, oh yeah, my torso was in the army or something. But they didn't do that. So I'm interested to see, again, as the show progresses, what they do with the character development of this. Cause Herman's just like, so now he's, was he a kid? Damn it. I want to know, because in last episode we watched, when we talked about him potentially thinking he had a kid, he was like, oh, I was just like this when I was a youngin or something. I was like, wait, what? Were you a kid? But you're made out of man parts. So what's so
was he at one point made out of kid parts?
Maybe. Ooh,
this is getting dark.
I want to watch that movie now. Hopefully they're just grave robbers and not kid murderers when they made him. But
we got a comment of Grandpa talking about Grandma, which maybe Lily's mom,
yes,
or it could just be one of his wife. But apparently she was a giantess. So
we did. Oh, that was a note I had for last episode, and I totally forgot it. But in last episode, I think it was episode 5 that we talked about last week.
4 and 5.
Grandpa, or Herman, actually says that Grandpa's his father-in-law. So that opens
Oh, they
up
do establish that it's through Lily's side.
through that, which
we
they
kind of
do break
assume since
into. They
you know,
actually admit more of it as we go on with these two episodes here, 6 and 7 that we watched this week, which I have in my notes too for episode 7 for sure. So yeah, I wanted to bring that up just because I totally forgot about it last week. And so now let's talk about this episode. So yeah, he can't fit into his outfit. Apparently Grandpa was married to a freaking
giantess. Yeah.
Like,
he's still got the corset and on a giant looking mannequin in the attic.
Yeah. I was just like, okay, I want to see his wives. I want a picture of all of his wives.
Yeah.
Because he said in like the episode 1, I think, that he still talks to him.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're under the impression that he stole his powers from each of them.
Maybe their personalities in his head.
I don't know about that.
I'm making Rob Zombie's Munsters movie now.
But Herman throws a little fit because he wants to go, nearly bringing down the house again.
Yeah.
It seems like a weekly thing with us where he almost destroys the house.
Yeah. And he hits the thing. He's like, I want to go.
I think at this point, Lily makes a deal with him. Like, if you can fit in your uniform, you'll go and I won't complain.
Right.
But you should go see a doctor. So he calls up the doctor who we met last week.
Dr. Dudley.
Gets new patient, which makes me think this was aired out in the wrong order.
Yes, I was wondering the same thing. That was my main note for this episode were these episodes out of order?
I believe so, because as we were about to get into, the stuff they described in the one we watched last week happened in this one. He thinks Herman brought his dog. He faints.
Yeah. And Herman, yeah. So I 100% think that they were aired out of order, which I would say it's okay, but I mean, for that time they didn't really care. People weren't going back and rewatching.
I mean, this is clearly a Thanksgiving episode we're having for Halloween.
Right. Yeah.
So, anyway, we cut to the doctor who, again, if you don't remember from last week, was Templeton in Charlotte's Web. And he sends his glasses off with the nurse to go get fixed or resized or something. I forget. I think
they needed adjusted for some reason. Which made no sense because you're about to see your patients.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we already established he's not a great crazy doctor. So.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that might work for then these scenes for it being already previously established that he's just a weird kooky guy. So maybe somebody was like, well, maybe we should shoot it in this order, not shoot it in this order, but put it out there.
Yeah.
Or maybe they just like the actor and they were like, hey, let's do that because we like the actor.
Yeah, maybe.
So
and so, we get Herman coming into the office, and let me tell you, as someone who has glasses, what he sees in this is actually probably the most accurate I've seen out of any show. Try to explain what it's like to take your glasses off and see things.
Super blurry.
Oh yeah. The only thing that was missing is you could actually tell where his eyes are, which for me, with most people, those are just dark sockets. You all look like you're living dead when I have my glasses off. I don't know if that's normal or not, but that's how it looks for me.
So what Tivis is saying is he is legally blind.
Oh, very much so. Do you see how thick this stuff is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Herman walks into 30, the office. Herman walks into his office and they go through the whole spiel like the
hairy
dog hands again, which we've seen.
Which they appear and disappear throughout this episode, so keep an eye out.
The whole time they disappear and reappear. And So I wonder if they're only for that doctor, like the gag for that specific character, and that's it. We'll find out, I guess, if like we move forward and they never reappear.
Well, I do have a note here. The hairy hands never appear again after this.
In this, after this episode?
Yep. We never see him again.
Like for all the episodes though, or just like what you've watched?
Just according to the trivia, never seen.
Never seen again.
Much like Grandpa's prosthetic that we had, a couple weeks ago.
Oh, like his long, elongated nose. Yeah.
Let's see. He tries to take his blood pressure and then comments how he cheaps out on buying his equipment, which bad doctor. Bad.
Don't admit it, at least.
Yeah.
So they do this like light exam, and then Herman, I was going to say Truman. Herman goes back. Herman goes back home, and he has the letter.
Well, after destroying the weight machine and making the doctor, he gets his glasses back and passes out, destroying his desk.
Yeah, he just falls.
That's a cheap ass desk. He must get his furniture same place.
From the same place that the WWF used to get their tables from.
Yeah.
So Herman takes his note back, and he clearly never read it until he got home. And starts reading it in front of Lily and Grandpa.
The entire examination, the Herman's making comments that the doctor is taking as jokes.
Yeah.
Which to me was pretty hilarious because my grandpa always did that. Again, my grandparents were awesome. I'm going to bring them up a lot. So if you don't like it, deal with it. He once actually got put on suicide watch because he made a bad joke about how being in marriage is making him want to die. So they literally strapped him to, like, if they put his hands strapped to a bed.
Yeah.
Because they don't take jokes at these places.
No, especially about that type of stuff.
No.
That's kind of funny though. That's awesome. So we finally get to the reading of the letter. Herman reads it in front of Grandpa and Lily. And again, Grandpa with his smart ass remark.
It's like, you're going to have to change the way you live or you're going to be dead within a week. Big deal. Yeah. It's never stopped me.
Right. Which then we're trying to say, like, they're like, so is Herman alive? Is he dead? Is he dead alive?
He's got no heartbeat. So
because Lily is clearly dead. She's made reference to being dead every episode, pretty much.
And Grandpa. I mean, they're both Draculas, so
I guess Herman would be alive because it's alive type thing. So he is alive, so I guess he can die. He just has a slower heart rate and blood pressure. I don't think he has
one because when he's getting his heart checked, which, oh my God, he didn't put the stethoscope in his ears. Bad doctor. But as he's, checking for heartbeats, they're knocking on the door to hand him back his glasses, and he thinks that's the heartbeat.
Yeah. But he did check. They said his temperature was what, 60 something?
He put it in his mouth and immediately grabbed it back. So it's in the 60s, but who knows if that's because you don't take a temperature that way.
No, you don't. Take it rectally, damn it.
I mean, if that's your thing.
Tivis, don't be shaming people. No. So we go through, he finds out he has to basically go on a diet.
Yes.
For 10 days to lose all this weight. One, I want to know how much weight he plans on losing in the 10 days.
I thought they said it was like 100 pounds or something.
Yeah, he had to lose like 100 pounds.
Which I don't know if I once lost 10 pounds over 3 days because I was so sick I couldn't eat food, but I don't think 100 is possible.
Right. I lost about almost 15 pounds when I was super sick with COVID. But I wasn't eating anything or drinking anything. Like I was trying to, but it wasn't staying.
Same. I had a really bad flu.
Right.
I've never been that sick in my life and hopefully won't again.
Yeah. So I'm very curious as to how they planned on 100 pounds. Like he could have just cut a limb off.
Well, he needs to put the jacket on, though, is the problem.
He
It's
could
the
have changed
stomach.
his torso. He could have went out and found another body and like put this torso
Apparently,
on.
they have bodies strewn around the building
Right.
or the house.
You're Frankenstein's monster. Let's just give you a new, like, don't worry about working out. Isn't that the whole point of being able to just switch your body parts? Isn't that what our medical field wants us to be able to get to eventually?
Cyborg me. So getting back to the episode, we cut to the next morning. We got Grandpa reading the Transylvania Gazette, which again, is he actually Dracula?
He's totally Dracula and Dr. Frankenstein.
I hope we never find out. I love the little illusions they're doing. Like, don't give me a definite answer. I want to constantly be questioning this.
Yeah.
Because we think he might be Frankenstein now too.
I mean, didn't they do that in the Van Helsing movie where Dracula was Frankenstein?
I believe so, but it has been quite some time, and I'm definitely rewatching that now.
Did he just try and take Frankenstein's tech? I don't remember. I know he needed Frankenstein's monster. He didn't create the monster. Or maybe he did. I would have to watch the beginning of that. I forget.
I still have to watch that I, Frankenstein movie that everyone hated.
I, Frankenstein. Was that the one with the dude who played Two-Face?
Maybe. I just know that it was potentially going to be part of the Dark Universe, even though it's a DC comic.
Oh, yeah. I saw this one. It wasn't horrid. It wasn't great, but it wasn't horrid. Anyways.
We get I have a note here. The shot of them at this family dinner table mirrors the opening. Like the table is sideways. They got the window there, and the way they're sitting is pretty much like the family in that opening shot.
Yeah.
I'm wondering now if this is like he's going to be hallucinating at this point in the episode. Because we get to his food and his only thing he gets is a glass of water and a vitamin B12, which he then oversalts. And if you notice, when he drops it's salt, because when he puts too much down, he throws it over his shoulder for good luck.
But he puts pepper on there too, because when you look at the plate, there's flecks of black on there too.
Oh, well, then maybe he did it with the pepper as kind of like a reverse, Maybe. Yeah. I thought it was salt, but
I think he might have been a salt pepper mix, maybe. Who knows? 60s are weird.
Lily then has a freak out moment, like, just eat something, please, for the love of God.
I really enjoyed the element of him doing the stupid pill thing, because I feel that a lot of people have done that again since then. For sure. Like trying to cut the pill. I'm just going to eat the pill. That's all I'm eating is this vitamin that's really not going to do anything nutritious for my body whatsoever.
And then he gets so indigestion, and Grandpa's like, I didn't know pills could give you indigestion.
And this is another thing where Grandpa's just a dick.
Yeah, because he's like getting a scoop of food, or I forget what the hell he was eating, but he takes the fork, he gets it close to Herman, waits for Herman to start getting close, and then eats it.
I think it was like a piece of meat or like a melon or something. Yeah. And he's just like, here you go. Right in front of him like a dick.
Oh, he's such a jerk.
He is a very big jerk.
We cut to Herman sneaking around at night, which there's some strange noise going on, which I think was supposed to be his stomach rumbling, but it sounded more like water slushing around. Yeah.
It was supposed to be his stomach, just like, I don't even know what it was. It was just like type noise.
He's going by candlelight, by the way, through the house.
Yeah.
He makes it to the kitchen. Grandpa's waiting for him, hanging upside down in the kitchen.
Well, no, first he grabs the big old piece of meat out of the fridge.
Oh, yeah, the salami. He's about to eat.
then Grandpa like shows up and takes it from him like a dick. Even though
You're
he's
never
like,
gonna last.
even though he's like, he keeps telling him he's not gonna last and that he needs to eat something.
He's being helpful, but a jerk about it.
Yeah, at the same time. And he keeps opening and closing the curtain.
Did you notice the first time it closed on his face?
Did it?
Yeah. The second time he leaned back a bit, so it missed him. But the first time it got him right in the nose.
All right. Let's move along with this one. So my only note was the out of order thing for this episode. It's pretty cut and dry with
Herman has a little tantrum with Superman breath. He finds out that the reunion is on Thanksgiving, and they go through all the food that you have at Thanksgiving. When they get to pumpkin pie, he has the same reaction I do year round, which is falling out of my chair in excitement.
And he passes out. He blacks out basically. And then they call Dr. Dudley to the house.
Yeah.
and he gets there and they tell him what happened. And he goes over and grabs his wrist to check for a heart. And then the heartbeat and our pulse.
Makes a comment on the hairy hands again.
Makes a comment on the hairy hands, which shows back up. And then he checks for a heartbeat with his stethoscope. And then
using it correctly this time.
He fucking just grabs the blanket and covers his head
Puts it over his
like he's dead. And he's like, I'm sorry, but you called me too late. I'm like, what type of doctor is saying that?
They're like, so how long was he in the military for? 3 years. And Herman just 4.
Or
wait, what?
Remember?
Yeah. I was in the military for 4 years. He's like, oh, you're alive. Oh, thank God.
Well, and when he sits up, the doctor just like looks and bolts it out of there. Dudley bolts out of there. He's like, nope, I'm out. Oh, man.
So as a solution, he gets strapped down to try to keep himself from cheating on his diet, which is we go full circle. We're back at the beginning. We find out that the TV is on and it's talking about all the amazing food you can have for Thanksgiving, which is causing him to go berserk. And that's why he kicks it.
I really feel Grandpa left that on purpose just to fuck with him because he's such a dick. So he had to have. So then we get, again, we're going back through. Herman breaks out. They actually showed the entire scene over, which I found interesting. Like nowadays they would just cut to, and then this is where I landed or some shit. So they let it play all back to
the TV real quick. A little trivia. Yeah. The guy who did the TV, his name is Michael Jackson. After this episode, he went and did a radio show for 30 years. And then he came back to acting. He did the voice of Alfred Pennyworth in the Dark Knight Returns animated movies and is also Ganthet in the Green Lantern. So little comic nerd knowledge.
Nice. All right, so then we get back to the people's house that he broke into.
Wait, when we get back to it, he's looking around. He's hearing the voice. So he actually did hear his own voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that little touch. They remembered.
He's like, how did I get here still? Like, I think he was just trying to think about why the hell he was even in this person's house, which this whole scenario like makes me question. So when Frankenstein's monster or Herman gets too hungry, he basically turns into a zombie or angry. He's basically a zombie like creature almost.
Yeah.
And so he sits down and he starts eating their turkey and he's like, turkey, good food. And then he's like, pass me this, pass me. He's just like, oh, it's like, pass me the gravy, pass me the potatoes.
He's very polite, but also demanding at the same time.
Yeah, it's funny. And then we just cut from there again, like they like to do in the middle of a scene. They just cut to a new scene of Lily and Grandpa talking about Herman's
Yeah, it's so nice of them. They
adventure.
didn't call the police on.
Yeah. They didn't call the police. They even gave him a doggy bag.
Yeah. I'm sure once he got some food in him and calmed down, he was very polite to him.
Yeah.
Other than he freaking ate their turkey with his hands.
Yeah.
But it seems like they're, what was it, episode 1 or 2? They had their whole thing. We need to go out and meet our neighbors more. I think they're doing a pretty good job with that. They've gotten to know quite a few.
What a hell of a way to meet your neighbors.
Yeah.
So they do that, and then Herman comes down because they're like, oh, he's never gonna fit into that now after his extravagant dinner last night or whatever. And Herman comes down and he's fitting in his jacket, just fitting in it perfectly fine. And she's like, Lily's like, oh, that's perfect. You look great.
Never thought a man in uniform.
Yeah. And then she's like, I thought I'd never have to say goodbye to you in this uniform again. And she touches him.
She said they were together for 100 years straight. This isn't that long after World War II.
Right. That they've never been without each other for 100 years or some shit. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm so confused.
Yeah. Because it can't be 100 years ago because his buddies are still alive.
Yeah.
Which they also said that, whenever he would, we passed it, whenever he would get up, the enemy would run from him. But he's like, come to think of it, though, some of our own guys would do the same thing. Oh, so anyways, he comes down and she's like, oh, are you great in uniform, blah, blah, blah. Then she goes and gives him a hug and touches his chest. And she's like, oh, what's this? And she unbuttons the jacket. And what's he wearing, Tivis?
It's Grandma's corset. I did not expect that to come back into this story at all.
Yeah, it was funny. As soon as I realized where they were going with it, because I was like, I wonder if he's, yeah. I didn't think it was going to be that corset, but I thought he was going to be wearing some type of man girdle or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was funny to see him wearing that. And then
I was not expecting that to have any payoff at all. I thought it was just a throwaway joke.
Which they do so many throwaways in here, but then so many end up paying off later down the road. It's funny. And then he ends up taking it off, and we end the episode there. That's basically this whole episode. Was just a Thanksgiving.
Does he get to go to his reunion? Maybe.
Yes, he does. Because it's the 60s and his wife isn't going to stop him.
He seems very respectful for the 60s man.
It's because he's many men.
So for our guests on this one, we got Carl Rowe as Mrs. Fairchild. Ronnie Rendell Jr. as Freddie, who was a henchman in Star Trek The First Contact, but was mostly a stunt performer.
Okay.
A little Star Trek. Michael Jackson as the TV announcer, not the one everyone knows. Dick Winslow as Seymour Farbner, who is been in... I started putting down stuff that I find fascinating instead of just the popular shit, because I don't watch the popular shit. He was in The Incredible Hulk and My Favorite Martian.
The Incredible Hulk, the
1979 series.
Okay. All right.
Monty Margits as Anne Farbner. Diane Courtney as Arlene Farbner. And Scott McCarter as Lester Farbner. And then Elise Baker is Grandma Farbner, so this must be the family he busted in on. Paul Linda, whatever, however you pronounce it. I'm sorry, I'm bad at it. Comes back as the doctor for his second of 3.
Okay.
Herman is of German origin and was raised in England, but served in the U.S. Army during World War II. Fred Gwynne, is that right?
Yeah. Gwynne.
Served in the U.S. Navy as a radioman on a submarine chaser. Like I said, Michael Jackson, TV. Mrs. Fairchild messes up giving the glasses back to the doctor. as you can clearly see her laugh, wave her hands, and walk away awkwardly. So there's a chance she might have thought that they were going to retake that and just gave up as being character.
Right.
Lily says they haven't been apart for 100 years. That makes no sense. And Herman's hands, they're hairy and not hairy all over the fucking place.
Yep. All over. Awesome.
I enjoyed this one.
Okay. I was about to say final thoughts on this one. I liked it. It was a pretty fun watch. Again, you're somewhat learning a little bit more about the family.
Yeah.
And that's about it. I mean, episode 7, correct? So for a sitcom, 7 episodes in, or episode 6, sorry. 6 episodes in for a sitcom, they've actually given you a lot of information.
Yeah.
For some of the characters.
And
we haven't seen Grandma though. Is Grandma dead?
Which grandma? He's had 100 wives.
Well, he only called one grandma. So
he's only talked about one specific.
He said grandma instead of one of my wives or anything like that. So it had to be somebody that they all knew.
Didn't see the invisible guy this episode.
Nope.
And Eddie wasn't in a cupboard. Oh, there's a fun fact for you.
No cupboard it. Awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of weird Thanksgiving episode for Halloween, but hey, whatever.
Yeah, because they aired this October 29th?
29th, 2 days
before. It was Thanksgiving for that, and then I'm sure their Thanksgiving time probably wasn't anything like that.
Yeah, we might have an Easter episode. Who knows?
All right, and that was Locale Munster, episode 6. So what we got for episode 7, man? Or do you have any last words for episode 6 before we jump forward?
No.
Awesome. All right, so what we got for 7?
The Tin Can Man, which is the first episode so far that doesn't have Munster in the title. Aired November 5th, 1964. Written by Robert Lewin, who was producer on Star Trek The Next Generation, writer for The Bold and the Brave, 1956 show, not the one, and also wrote for Judd for the Defense, which, if you look at the cover of that, the person on that looks like Ashton Kutcher, and it's weird because it's a 60s show. The teleplay was written by Norm Lehman and Ed Haas. I don't know what that means, so you can explain that if you...
Wait, the what?
Teleplay. Yeah. Does that mean they adapted the script that Robert wrote for TV or something?
Maybe. Television.
Come on, you're the film guy.
Yeah, but it could mean many, especially from the 60s. I'm not sure.
All right. Well, the director was Earl Bellamy this time, who directed I Spy and was the second unit director of In a Lonely Place and From Here to Eternity.
Okay. Yeah, see, because teleplay means something completely different right now.
Okay.
A story prepared for television production, recent examples on the web, and in addition to mimicking the format of teleplay. That's what that says. But I think it probably meant something different then. Screenplay or script used in the production of scripted television program and series. There you go.
Okay.
A television play.
All right, that's interesting. I wonder what this was originally written for then, if it wasn't for TV.
Oh. All right, so episode 7, the Tin Can Man synopsis.
The synopsis.
Eddie is in danger of being expelled from school. His only chance to prevent this is doing a great project for the school's science fair. There we go.
And we open this one up with Herman storming up the stairs to tell Lily that Eddie is flunking science.
Yeah. Which apparently the family holds science in like high regard.
Yeah, because
Grandpa
Herman and Grandpa constantly doing experiments.
Grandpa's like, yeah. But Herman is literally a walking science experiment.
And not only is he flunking, but he's hiding letters from the school to the parents, which is a big no-no. That would probably make me more angry than him flunking if it was my kid.
Yeah. So actually, with this first shot, I want to point out this is the first shot where we're shooting down the stairwell.
Yeah, it is.
With the doorway and everything like that. So it was really cool to see that shot because it was something different. You don't see it. I'm sure we probably won't see it a whole lot either throughout the show. But it was a cool one because that's when he's storming up the stairs and going to Lily's room and yelling about their kid.
Their room.
I
hope they share a room. They're married.
He probably sleeps in the dungeon most of the time, strapped to the table because
where we found him 2 times now. Yeah. So we get, look, I went to a school where I got in detention and I needed to have a letter signed by my mom, and I learned how to perfectly forge her signature, so she never found out. So I got out of a lot of detentions that way. I was not a good kid.
No kid is a good kid.
We cut to Eddie's school though and find out that the school, I thought this was his teacher at first, but it's an investigator. What school has an investigator? Also, this might be a private school.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was a private school or not.
He's a former prison
investigator, guard. So I want to live in the 60s and see if this was a thing.
Yeah, they reveal he's a former prison guard.
Yeah.
Refers to the students as inmates all the time.
And refers to them as inmates. He's a complete dick. He's grandpa for the school, basically. And yeah, I do want to point out though, Herman is supposed to have a meeting with the teacher.
Yep.
Or the principal.
The principal.
Sorry. Yeah, principal. But for some reason he can't get out of work. And this is where we first see
what
Herman
is
working.
Which looks like it might be a funeral home.
So I'm confused because he's saying stuff about selling. So does he sell floral arrangements for the funerals, or does he work for the funeral home in some capacity?
I don't, because he's also saying that people are, dying to come to their sales.
Right. And when you see him, you just see a bunch of floral arrangements, but then you hear in the background a funeral service starting. So I'm like, does he sell the floral arrangements? Does he work for the funeral home? Maybe he does both. Maybe the funeral home has floral arrangements that he puts together, and then he also is like a what are they called when they carry the casket? I'm sorry.
Pallbearer.
Pallbearer, yes. So maybe he drives the hearse. Who knows?
Maybe.
That would be a hell of a hearse driver, actually. I would love to see that.
Yeah, it's so like it could be so many different. He might work at a freaking floral shop for all.
But those were all floral arrangements for funerals,
or could be for a wedding. There's some some people have like the circles and arches for their wedding, but the music was definitely funeral.
Yeah, definitely.
We glossed over a little bit though. We get Herman grounding Eddie, which is something I'm familiar with because I was grounded like pretty much my entire childhood, having stuff taken from me. He's got a joke book that he's reading from, and then his wife tells him, "Hey, you're about to be late for work." He's like, "Oh yeah, they're calling me Late Herman."
Oh yeah, yeah. He's laughing his ass off on this joke book the entire time. And some of the jokes that he's like laughing about, because he says one that was like, and Lily did not like the joke because it's sexist and shit. She's like, "Why do you like that shit?" And he's like, "Oh, it's funny. It makes me giggle." But I can say the same thing because I've said some jokes that my wife does not appreciate. But I'm like, I don't mean it. It's just a joke.
Dude, you got some bad dad jokes that you say. Like to us.
Welcome. But yeah, I appreciated the joke book thing. It's showing more of a dynamic between the relationship with Herman and Lily, that it's not just like perfect, like 100% perfect. There's always the eye rolls at the husband. Trust me, people.
Oh yeah. I know I actually landed a zinger if I get an eye roll. So.
All right. So as we're going through, he goes to work. Then we see the floor arrangement stuff there. But we also learn that Eddie is building a robot.
Yep. With the help of Grandpa. Yep. Which grandparents helping out with
science
homework without saying, don't tell anyone I helped you. Is that the American pastime?
I didn't help him. He did it all by himself. I supervised, is what Grandpa says later.
Yeah.
So we actually goes down to the lab and see the robot, and is it Marilyn goes down there with Eddie?
I don't think she's down there, but she is about to answer the phone.
Okay. All right. We'll take it away, dude.
Yeah, Herman gets stuck at work, which we were just, talking about the floor arrangements, music. And he's like, hey, Meryl, could you go and talk to the principal for me? Or no, he's like, can you send Grandpa first? He's like, he doesn't go out during the day. Dracula, of course.
Which we've seen him out in the daytime plenty of times already.
He turned into a wolf and attacked someone.
Yeah.
So she's like, hey, I'll just go for you. He's like, oh, would you? That'd be great.
Yeah.
So while she's on their way there, they don't realize the investigator is on the way to the Munsters' house. And the first person he meets, Grandpa. Probably the worst person he could have.
It would have been better if Spot would have answered the door.
Yeah. At least the problem would have been solved real quick.
Damn, that got dark.
There's bodies buried around the house. It's already dark.
All right. So the investigator goes to the Munsters' home. What the fuck was I just trying to say? Home. The Munsters' home. And he gets basically a tour by Grandpa, which it doesn't seem like Grandpa is hiding anything. He's like,
no, he seemed pretty happy about the company.
And he takes him down to the lab and he shows him the robot.
Well, first they make a comment about, oh, this is an interesting looking house. He's like, yeah, I know. My daughter decorates. Yeah, which is she the one doing the cobwebs?
Maybe she's like a spider too, and she shoots the web. I don't know. Because they reappear all over the place.
Yeah, the nanny was covered in them when they weren't even home.
Yeah, well, we find out in a few minutes too that the webs just reappear. So maybe she's feeding the spiders, so the spiders have energy to silk it all up.
We get our the Crow appearance doing his Edgar Allan Poe thing, which I am not a fan of Edgar Allan Poe, so whatever.
Boo.
Grandpa feeds his goldfish, and it's similar. I've said before, I'm watching these with side by side with Adams and Gilligan. He feeds the goldfish a similar way that the Addams family feeds their piranhas, but I think this show does it better.
Okay.
Because in the Addams family, he takes a chunk of meat, dips it into the water, and then like a bone shoots out the other side. This one, it's the same stick. So it was a better effect.
Yeah. Better way to see how they revealed it.
And at this point, I'm thinking Grandpa's revealing too much. Is he about to kill this guy?
Well, he gets very close.
Then we get to the lab where he's showing off the robot. And the investigator's like, oh, no kid raised in this environment should be allowed to go to our school. So Grandpa's like, really? Grabs the remote, get him.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, Grandpa's going to kill him.
He sicks the Terminator on him.
Which this robot, anyone who's watched Adventures of Superman, which aired, like it ended about 5 or 6 years before this show started. It had a robot on that show, exact similar design. So I wonder if it's a reused prop or they just rebuilt it with that in mind. Or
Maybe.
if it's just a generic robot.
Just a generic robot design, bro. It's some cans, dude.
So the investigator's running out of the house while the house seems to be attacking him on his way out.
No, he's just I think it's the fear is making him feel like it's probably attacking him.
Well, the Porsche definitely hits him in the ass.
Oh yeah, totally does. So is the house alive then? Or is
Grandpa controlling the house? Yeah.
Yeah. I think it might just be Grandpa's magical powers. Not sure how, because we don't know how. Grandpa is OP. Like,
yeah.
Like we don't know his power level.
Dracula, maybe.
And Dracula and Frankenstein. So we don't really know his powers. But before they go to the basement, we finally get verbal confirmation from Grandpa himself that Lily is his daughter.
Which we kind of assume since she is a vampire.
Yeah. And he said it in or Herman said in another episode that we've already watched that it's his father-in-law, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. This is like the verbal confirmation I think that you needed. Maybe back in the day, people didn't give a crap, but we're just sitting here like, how are they related?
We were wondering.
Yeah, because even Lily calls him Grandpa. When she's talking to her own husband, though, not like to Eddie. Like they
don't call him anything but Grandpa, and sometimes the Count.
Yeah, that's his name, the Grandpa. Like she should be calling him Dad or something.
Even when they introduce him to other people, which is why I'm wondering: is actually her dad, or maybe the guy who bit her, or
still that would make him Master then, not Grandpa. Or maybe Master probably wouldn't have been a very good word to say.
So while this is going on with Grandpa and the investigator, we find out that Meryl is having a very nice conversation with the principal. And the principal clearly wants Meryl to come home with him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they get very close. I was like, what's going on with this? He gets
uncomfortably close.
It was very weird. Very, very
especially
weird.
In today's environment. But, back then, different.
No, I honestly thought that he was gonna like try and like hit on her or something. But he didn't. It just got really awkwardly close.
Yeah.
Like he was like up in her business and stuff. So that bubble was definitely popped.
So after she leaves, they have the nice conversation, and the principal's like, yeah, maybe this kid's not so bad. His family loves science. Maybe he's just, a little bored. We can work with this. The investigator comes back where he's like, their grandpa is Jack the Ripper, which maybe he is.
So we're just making Grandpa every villain ever.
So he's like, look, he's got this killer robot. He's like, look, if this kid built a robot, he deserves to be at this school. If it works, you're fired.
Yeah, he's just like, if it works, and he says really, if you're lying, you're fired. If it's not true what you're saying, you're fired. And I'm just like, damn. And then the guy walks out, and he's like, well, I guess job security, I need to make sure that robot doesn't work. I was like, that's not what he said. Maybe you should just tell the fucking truth and shut up, dude. Like, that's not what he said at all.
He also talked about how being a prison guard was so much easier.
Yeah. Because kids are crazy, Tivis.
You would know more than me. I just have nieces, and they're all right because we get to not go home with them.
Right. You get to leave them somewhere else.
And then we get the robot being introduced to Herman, which was the robot flirting with Herman a little. It winks at him.
I don't know. Robot's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We also find out that the investigator is only there because his brother feels sorry for him and is on the school board.
Is that why he's there, or is it just
his brother's on the school board? But I'm just assuming it's because he feels bad for him because he's a piece of shit.
Yeah, he is a big piece of shit.
Yeah.
Sorry, yawning already.
I was tired a couple episodes ago. Now you're tired. Yeah.
So let's dive into the rest of this where we get to the science fair, because there's not much else that happened.
Now, Herman comes home reading his book. He complains that it takes him an hour to read a single joke. So that makes me think he's horrible at reading. We get the return of the classic car. The investigator is there. This is hilarious. The investigator is there to greet them when they arrive at the science fair. And Grandpa sees him and immediately goes, there he is again. Get him.
Yeah. He's like, get him. Sick. Sick on him. And the robot was about to attack him too. And then the guy says, I'm just wanting to see how well you're doing. He walks around on the robot, and for some reason there's a flap on the back.
Yeah.
Just, open up loosely, and he drops
something in. We don't really see what it is yet.
Yeah. And when they do reveal, it did not look like what he dropped in.
No.
No. It looked like he dropped
I have words about that.
Yeah. So then they try and get the robot to move, and it just it fries.
Yeah.
So then they have to do a
emergency
robot surgery backstage. Yeah. I honestly thought that they were going to eventually just take the robot apart and put Herman in the metal.
I thought that's what it was going to be too, but instead they'd start the surgery. Oil starts coming out. Herman passes out, and they're like, God, it's getting to be Eddie's time. Can we talk about some of the stuff we see at this science fair, which is not a science fair at all. This is a talent show. Electric chopsticks. Why?
They were just the dumbest inventions, dude. I'm sure somebody just grabbed the book that said the world's dumbest inventions and was like, here, let's put these in here. Like the electric chopsticks, like what would you actually do? Like those would be pointless unless you had no hands.
I gotta I gotta give props to the woman who's playing this kid's mom, because she's on screen for such a short time, but she gives off like that smug, like my kid is a genius, prepare, feeling.
What were some of the other ones that they had? So it was the electric chopsticks. It was
the one kid reading like some kind of formula to the crowd. I think that's the only two we see.
Yeah. Well, there was somebody else that was literally doing like a talent. They weren't actually.
Yeah, it's a talent show. It's not a science fair. I've been to a science fair. I was forced to participate in one. It's just a room people walk around in. You're not on stage.
It was the 60s, Tivis. You don't know what it was like.
Yeah. All I could say is building a volcano was a lot easier than a robot.
See, I would have been that kid that tried to build the robot. I'd be like, I'm not doing a volcano. Everyone fucking does the volcano. You would have been that kid
that had your brother in the robot costume.
Maybe. Or I would have been the guy who brought the kid, my brother, to school, and I was going to try and dissect him in front of everybody and watch them all freak out.
Oh, that would have been good. A little magic.
No magic, just a scalpel.
So, can I say? Yeah. Oh. All right. Can I say, when they look at the clock while they're performing the surgery, the hands of the clock don't change at all?
No,
because I even rewound. I'm like, they're trying to say, time is running. No time passes.
Yeah. Maybe they were going to run a gag on the clock and they just didn't. Who knows? eventually Grandpa does find a wrench in the robot.
Yeah.
Literally, he's like, I found the problem, a wrench in the whatever.
What Herman is out doing bad jokes on the stage. They find a joke. They threw a wrench in the works. And I'm like, son of a bitch. This whole episode was just a lead up to this one horrible joke, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, it was. It was all set up for this one joke.
Yep.
It's all about bad jokes. That's all this entire episode.
And the funny thing is too with it is like Herman goes out on stage and he starts just reciting joke after joke from his joke book. And people are loving it, but they're not necessarily loving the joke more so that they think he's a robot.
The robot.
Yeah. So they think he's a robot telling these jokes. So they think it's awesome that animatronic, I guess, or something that's not a biological being is up there telling these jokes. And that's what's getting him the applause because the jokes are horrible. I don't even understand some of the jokes. Like he said,
they're so bad.
I was like, that's not a joke. That's a stunt. Like you're just saying something.
Yeah. And he's loving the fame of it too much. He grabs like a hat and a cane, starts, doing the whole dance. He's coming back for more.
Darling. Hello. That one.
Yeah.
For people
if anyone remembers the old mascot to WB, the frog.
Yeah.
So they get the robot working again and they're like, okay, Herman, you got to stop. It's Eddie's day.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, all right. And then the robot explodes.
Yeah. The robot explodes. And then Eddie does the great thing. This is one of the things I love about this show. Is lesson after lesson after lesson, and yeah, I mean most things have lessons in them, but this was really cool to see. Eddie goes out, admits that his robot blew up, and they want to give him the prize anyways, and he's like, no, I don't want the prize, just fuck off with that, please.
I got help from my grandpa. I cheated.
I got help. Yeah. Don't they still end up giving him a prize for being so honest and shit like that?
Yeah, they award
a good person.
Which they also tell the crowd that the robot blew up, so they think Herman's dead.
Yeah. I also want to go back to when they're doing the surgery backstage. Grandpa somewhat admits to making Herman.
Oh yeah, he was there for his creation.
So I'm like, even more so, he's Frankenstein. He's Dr. Frankenstein because he's like, I was there for Herman's, creation shit. And I'm like, I rewound it too to make sure I heard him right the first time. I was like, wait, what? Because after these last few episodes, I've been like, he's just Dr. Frankenstein. And then when I was watching that one, I was like, oh shit, he is.
I mean, he's got a bat called Igor. The signs are there,
and Igor does help him in the shop. You saw he was like holding a cigar or something.
He brings him a couple different things, but yeah. So,
what was he holding a cigar earlier in this episode?
I can't remember.
I don't remember if it was a cigar or a screwdriver, and then Igor just drops it.
Yeah,
I think if it was a cigar, it'd be funny because then he's like, "Oh yeah, you don't need this." Because smoking's bad.
Not back then.
Well, maybe that's what the message of this show was trying to do. Tivis?
I don't think anyone even realized it was bad back then. They didn't. No, it's like another decade or two before the started coming out. Hey, probably cancer.
But yeah, so in the episode, Grandpa does admit to creating Herman. So
at least being present.
Yes.
So
Igor made Herman then.
We get the ending shot is Eddie going back to the family where Lily is like, oh, Eddie's a real man now. And Grandpa makes a comment that they they don't end the show with this.
Yeah.
But it's like, what does he mean? Because he talks about, he didn't even do it the easy way like you, Herman. What does he mean?
Like becoming a man as in being created, like Herman was made out of body parts.
Well, we also have Herman talking about being a kid.
Yeah, that was a few episodes ago, though. So some things are just throwaway things in this series.
I wonder, is it an innuendo? uh, but yeah, so we end the show with the robot now converted. Go ahead.
So since you said it, I did when he first said that, I did think he was making like a sexual joke, like, hooking up with my daughter type thing.
Yeah.
But then I thought about it. I was like, maybe he's talking about him actually being made into a man. Literally.
That's what I thought. I'm like, which way are they leaning with this joke?
Who knows? Who knows with that one? But yeah, finish us out, Tivis.
Oh, so
the episode.
We get the robots rebuilt, and it's turned into a terrible joke machine that I want to throw into a compactor.
It's Carrot Top. If Carrot Top was a robot,
Carrot Top's funnier. And Carrot Top will kick your ass. Have you seen him? He's jacked.
Muscles don't mean that you can kick someone's ass.
Oh, dude. He's rivaling Goldberg.
Yeah, he's pretty
and
big.
Goldberg almost killed someone a couple of years ago.
It's just because he's a shitty wrestler.
Well, yeah.
Anyways. So the robot turns into a joke robot, and that's the end of the episode, right? They close it right there.
Yeah, that's where it ends.
And so last final thoughts on this episode from me. I'll go first and let you do your stuff and trivia. I enjoyed somewhat of it once you realize where it's going, because it's just this whole thing is just I bet you that these jokes were like something that the writers had written for other shows, and they were like, well, they never let us use them, so let's toss them all in here because they make no fucking sense. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that. And I do like, again, more of the development. I'm swear to God, Grandpa is Dr. Frankenstein.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really lean. It's like he could also be Jack the Ripper now.
Yeah. He can be everybody.
Again, I had a lot of fun with this one. I don't think I had as much fun with this as the other one we talked about today, but this is not a bad, I just love this show so much. Getting into the guests here, so we can.
Yeah.
So this one isn't
episode 7 for people that, so you guys remember episode 7 called Tin Man, correct?
Tin Can Man.
Tin Can Man. Sorry, the Tin Man. Tin Can Man. There. Arch
Johnson played Mr. Taggett, who he was in. He played John Kelly and General Zachary Kane in the 1977 Wonder Woman. Commissioner Sam Hart in The Bionic Woman.
Ooh.
And various people, including Uncle Albert. This was another Uncle Albert in Bewitched. Dick Simmons played Mr. Balding.
So he was in like 3 very strong female-led shows. Mm-hmm. Nice. I like all the shows, though.
Yeah. Kathleen O'Malley was the wife.
Okay. The wife to who?
I don't know. That's just what they're credited as.
There was no other.
She played Sister Kathleen in the A-Team, though.
The wife. I'm trying to think of who she could have been. Maybe she was the mom that was on stage?
Could be. I'm not sure. It's just, Rand Brooks was the man. He played Conway in The Green Hornet. The good version, not the terrible movie that Seth Rogen should regret.
I like that movie, man. Grow up.
Rand. Oh, I just read that. Dee Carroll as the first woman.
Okay.
And Murray Alper as the second man.
Wow, they just didn't even try.
No.
I love BU cast.
And yeah, so I already said the Tin Man looked like a creation of the Adventures of Superman, which ran from 52 to 58.
That was the black and white version.
Yeah. Yeah. Color didn't come around until the 60s.
Yeah.
Which
they had color when they did this. Or maybe it was towards the end. Because I know Star Trek was in the 60s as well, but they were
they might have, because I know the pilot that eventually got released, the unaired pilot in 2004, is in color.
Yeah. 1939 was when it was first introduced, actually.
Okay. But the TVs didn't become, actually affordable for common homes until way later. I remember my grandpa telling me the color TV they had was literally a black and white TV where they put a sheet of colored paper over top of it.
Yeah. Sorry, it was 1953 when the first complete electronic color TV system was done, which means a lot of people probably didn't even have colored TV until the late 60s.
No, because
you gotta think how long it would take for people to get, a lot of people don't even have 4K TVs still, and that's been out for a good 8 years now. No,
yeah, because even another show that I watched back then, I wasn't alive back then, but from that era, but the BBC production, Doctor Who, the BBC started mandating colored versions of their shows in the 70s. So,
yeah.
So my spotlight this week is on Beverly Owen, who plays Marilyn for now. He was born May 13th, 1937, and unfortunately, she passed away a couple years ago, 2019 in February. Her first acting credit was as Linda Elliott #2 in As the World Turns, which was a series that ran from 56 to 2010. She was in it between 61 and 64.
This is our current Marilyn, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Her last credited appearance was as Marilyn Munsters when the unaired pilot aired. Her last actual acting credit was as Dr. Paula McCrane in Another World, which was way back in 1971 to 72. So she quit acting, not long after this show. Mm-hmm. She literally only played 7 people over her entire career.
But they were in shows, right? So they were longer running. Yeah. I could see that. I mean, back then too, like they weren't like The Rock and being in every freaking movie in the summertime or some shit, Yeah, awesome.
All right. Well, we're on this. Who do you think The Rock would play if he played one of these characters?
Oh, if he got to pick one of these characters?
Yeah.
For what I think or for what I know you got a picture of?
What do you think?
Well, I think The Rock would be a good he would not be a good Herman. I wouldn't pick him for Herman for sure.
No.
I would have him be a male version of Marilyn.
All right. I was leaning more towards Grandpa because I think he could get that humor.
I think Chris Hemsworth would be a better Grandpa.
We're not talking about Chris Hemsworth. We're talking about The Rock.
But I do think The Rock would be a better ideal for Marilyn's a male version of the Marilyn character, because then you could have him because he's super muscular. He looks good, all that shit.
We should sit down and try to guess the cast list to Rob Zombie's upcoming film and who he would pick.
I think they've already released it.
Did they? Well, I haven't looked at it, so we can make a list and then look at it and see how close we are.
Awesome. Yeah, because I think they're starting shooting already by now. Awesome. So do you have any last words on today's episode, man? Or today's 2 episodes?
I'm having so much fun with the show.
Awesome. I'm enjoying this as well. And I'm learning a lot more crap about the Munsters than I thought I would ever know in my life. Mm-hmm. So it's been pretty cool to learn. So with that said, Tivis, any last comment?
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. I almost forgot.
And happy Thanksgiving, apparently.
Oh, yeah. All right. With that said, guys, we will catch you next time when we take another stroll down 1313 Mockingbird Lane.
The lesson I want you to learn is it doesn't matter what you tall or short, or fat or thin, or ugly, or handsome, like your father. Or you can be black or yellow or white. It doesn't matter. What does matter is the size of your heart and the strength of your character.